name's Tania. I am a cinematographer and independent filmmaker. There's something about the creative process that, you've just got to, it's like having a head full of bees, I think sometimes, they've just got to get out so that, you can generate new ideas. Sometimes, the idea's just there, like picking a flower, but something will lie behind that moment that made you recognise that idea. And I think when you make a film, you have to get right down to the roots of it, essentially. Everybody has a way of expressing themselves, and I think it's really important to do that. I mean, you wouldn't be a guitar player, own a guitar and never play the guitar. You don't necessarily need an audience. I mean, if you can find an audience, that's, a bonus. But actually, to be sort of working through things for yourself, it gives you the opportunity to try out new kit. It gives you the opportunity to hone your skills, either with lenses or exposure, or, it's quite exciting, really. The film I'm working on at the moment was initially just going to be a road trip movie because I was going to the States with a friend. But the fact that it's a film based on my own ideas and my own feelings means that I can create a juxtaposition within the edit between stuff that could be like a dreamscape, almost an imagined experience potentially, with the material that has come out as photographs. I think there's moments in everybody's life where they just stop and look. And so I've also tried to capture pictures that reflect that and allow us to put beats into the film so that it sort of kind of like has time to breathe. When you're doing it for yourself, well, you're just a crew of one. And you've got to figure out a way, I guess, to get your ideas on the screen. Instinctively, when I'm working on my own, I'm on a small camera that's easy to manage. And the C70 was brilliant. It was just so straightforward. I felt really comfortable with it instantaneously. And I sort of think there's a good parity between that camera, if you were transitioning between a digital SLR, for instance, and looking for something slightly more towards a filmmaker type camera. The C70 is brilliant. I would have no hesitations on sticking some like cine primes on there. When I'm working on my own, it's very much like the portability of it or the weight of it. Because I've got EF lenses and the C70 is an RF mount, I needed to use the 0.71 lens adapter, which was really great for maintaining the field of vision that I'm accustomed to with full frame lenses. I've been shooting primarily out on location, so using available light, which in the extreme heat of summer has been quite challenging. But the ND filters were really, crucial to me being able to get a good exposure between the shot of the ground, the black cloth, and then the flowers as the car pulls away. There's something within any indie filmmaker is resourcefulness. It's really less about the kit and more about the idea in your head. At which point, you just need to get it out of your head and you need to create. Enthusiasm quite often has me charging out the door, but a plan is essential. Proper preparation preventing pathetic performance is very true of filmmaking. There's quite a lot of packing up the car and making sure you've got everything with you, because once you're a mile down the road, you really don't want to be turning around and coming back to get something. So meticulous planning. Endless checklists, I would say. Check, check, double check. Batteries on charge, sufficient cards, are your lenses clean, have you got a lens cloth? I often sort of say to people, well, take a photograph of what your kit looks like so you instantaneously know at a glance if something's missing. But I think, as you get familiar with your kit, you'll automatically know. Cover any eventualities such as, weather issues or, you get there, you wanted a calm sea, it's a rough sea. You've got to have a plan B so that you can make the best use of your time. I think it's very tempting to spread yourself sort of too thinly. And by that, I mean, want to gather a lot in a short space of time. So I think you've got to know or learn to know your sort of parameters, your limitations, not to stop you doing something, but so you can get the best use of your time. It's almost better to find one place and see how much you can get from that one spot to sort of stop you running around, really. Shot listing is really fundamental to my process. I quite often have ideas sort of bubbling around in the background that sort of like pounce on me while I'm shooting, and that can sort of send me off on a different track. If I've got a list, I can methodically go down the list and get the other shots that I want to, that suddenly come from inspiration of the moment. Is that shot, that whimsical idea for, I don't know, time-lapse clouds, for example, essential to the project that I'm shooting? And it's at that shot listing time when I'll know or not know, because shot listing also for me is like a sort of a mental edit. Shot listing is like a check, double, triple check. Does this serve? Once I've been out on a shoot, the next stage in my process is to create a shot log. It's instructive. If, as the situation was with this film, that I decided I needed to go and do some pickups, I never would have been able to know that without having created my shot log, without having reviewed my footage. So it's a kind of like, for me it's a sort of like key part of my process in terms of making a film. You're more likely to gain value of what you do if you learn to be your authentic self rather than a parody of somebody else, because actually everybody's looking for that. They're looking for what is quintessentially you. And if you can find that and bring it to your work, then you'll have something that people will adore. On this last shoot that I did, I got to pair this camera with the 0.71 EF to RF adapter, which was hugely helpful. The lens mount adapter allows you to use your EF lenses with an RF mount camera with the bonus of extra stop. One of my favourite things about this camera, accessibility of all the user buttons, in particular the ND buttons, which I probably make most use of. I use the ND filters to manage the other thing that I love that pops up on the screen here, which is the waveform monitor, which on these cameras is generally speaking how I best judge exposure. The form factor of the C70, that it mirrors the form factor of a digital SLR, makes familiarity with using it fantastic. It comes with much greater ease in a self-shooting situation. And frankly, I really enjoyed working with it, which was refreshing. Sometimes cameras can be a bit of a challenge, but this one definitely not. I hope those tips can be put to good use when you go out and make your own films.